Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. WGR Garage here, and we are going to be working on episode 1 of building this buggy. This is a bent fabrication rig. It's a chassis that's probably only 30% complete. So we are going to be building this thing in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. So alrighty guys, we got to start somewhere. This thing rolled into the shop just as it is. I've digested a little bit about where I want to start, and I think it's probably going to be drive shafts and shocks. So I want to air up the shocks. I already know that stuff's going to hit at full bump or not going to hit at full bump in the front. The rear's questionable. I got to move because it's right now the main frame is actually hitting the truss. So that's just resting there because the shocks are not mounted. So I want to get the shocks in to where I know they're not going to bottom out, or the chassis is not going to bottom out into the axle, and then get the shocks welded in, air up the shocks, see what this thing's at ride height, and then kind of start doing drive shafts on the bottom. Get my drive shafts put in, and then I think it's pretty much onto some sheet metal work, and it's going to be moving this brake booster out. I'm not 100% sure if I need to move it yet, but it's got the hydro boost system on it. Just a large unit, so I'm trying to see maybe if I could go down and forward, if that will get me a little bit more foot room, because right now the pedal is just too close. So I could either make a real weird pedal that kind of goes, you know, way back and then down, or I just need to make something else work. So yeah. Let's start on the shocks. So I want to get the shocks mounted in and get this thing in the back end. This is all my cardboard aided design that I'm going to be using to make all the panels in here. So I've been collecting boxes for a week or so, maybe a couple weeks, and start doing the sheet metal work to get a tunnel in here and some sort of center console. I'm not sure if I'll do it tube work yet or just straight sheet metal. But let's start making some progress. Alright, so hit a snag. I can't find the valve stems for these. Looked through most of the boxes, I guess, that it came with. Couldn't find them. So I ordered them off Amazon, and now just gotta continue trucking on. So I think I'm gonna cut all the zip ties on the seats, get the seats removed, get the back seat out, and I think I'm gonna start working drive shafts, and then kind of look at what kind of mounting system is holding the transfer case in and all that good stuff. So yep, that's what's up next. Alrighty guys, so ran into some design issues. What I mean by that is, check out these shocks first off. So in order to get the buggy level, the shocks have to almost be fully extended. They're probably 16-inch travel or maybe 14-inch travel shocks. They are very extended. The fronts only have about 5 inches, somewhere in there, of down travel, and finally we are level on the chassis. So that tells me we got a bit of a design problem. So you can see that bubble. We're smack dab pretty much where we want to be as far as levelness goes. I had the Klein lit up and on, and it's pretty close, but another problem, right? Moving the shocks isn't that terrible, but check out this drive shaft angle. I mean, from there to there, no drive shaft's going to be happy about that, and being a little short, stubby one. So, and that transmission isn't even supported, so it's just sitting on the pan right now. So it's as low as it will ever be, and I still have to lift it up and make mounts for the transmission and transfer case. So I really think the problem is this black box. I don't think this black box can be in there. So just where the engine's sitting, you can't stuff it up anymore here. So the powertrain has to get shorter. It's the only thing I can think of. So take out, what is this, 9 inches? Pull out roughly 8.5 inches from here, and your drive shaft will be at a way less angle than what it is right now. So I'm pretty sure that's what's going to have to happen. I'm going to message Aaron and see if that's the route he wants to go. If not, I'll mount all this in there, and then I don't know how he's going to do that back there. Just not going to work. So the only other option might be to we could see if we could try to stuff the axle more and cut the tabs off on the shocks and make bigger hoops or something. So that way the front comes down, chassis comes down a little bit, but yet it can go have more up travel. And then, yeah. And then you got to move these shocks. Regardless, I think these shocks are going to have to move down because this ain't going to work. So I mean, they got to come down probably 6 inches. So I might build something off of here as my set of tabs, or I don't know if I put tabs off of here. I might do that, just weld tabs to this thing and then put a new bar in between here, right? And then put a bar here, so this way this is nice and sturdy, but mount my tabs right off this tube. That might be a good option. But anyways, we are not off to a good start. So I was kind of hoping this stuff would already be figured out, and I could just start welding stuff on, sheet metaling it up, but it is not looking good. So something has to get done in order to make that drive shaft work, and then make the ride height normal in the back. So that's what I'll ponder the next day or so, and then I'll update you. Alrighty guys, new day out in the shop, and one thing I was going to work on is this drive shaft, this front drive shaft kind of going out. I have it just sitting in the yoke up there, and then we got this. So this is the carrier bearing. Aaron had some isolators. They're just rubber isolators. I think I'm just going to drill a hole, put the isolator underneath it, and that way this thing will be able to flex and move. Yes, it's going to put a little load on that bolt, but it's not going to be too much to where I'm worried about the bolt breaking. So we'll use a big old, probably 1/2 inch bolt or 5/8 bolt that goes up through that thing, and this will allow that bolt to rock, the isolators to move and isolate, and everything just have just a little bit of movement. It doesn't have a lot of movement, it has just a little bit of movement. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I feel like that's a pretty good way of doing this. So we are going to drill some holes, get this thing mounted, and then work our way to the trans mount and the T-case mount. So both of these need to be on rubber as well, so they need to be able to flex as the engine flexes up there. So let's get creative and see what we can come up with. Alright guys, so the pillow block or carrier bearing is mounted, if you could see that. So that was pretty easy, just a couple holes through, and then I just put a little bit of load on the rubber mounts themselves, so that way everything's tight, and that's awesome. So next thing up is going to be the transmission. So transmission needs some sort of mount. I'm going to start with this one, and then I'll grab this one some other time or next or something, but let's start with that one back there, or in the middle. And I believe I'm going to be running a tube just across and then welding it to this surface. And this surface unbolts with the skid plate. So if you once you drop the skid plate, this tube and cross member will come out as well. And I think that's the best way to do it, because if you were to remove this section, you'd probably ratchet strap the tail up and then drop the whole belly out of it, and then put whatever jack or whatever you want underneath it and unbolt it under your ratchet strap and then carry it away. So I think that's my plan of attack. I'm pretty happy with that. I would be happy with it. So that is the route I'm gonna go. Alrighty guys, making some progress here. Got the transmission mount all in there. Slapped my WGR Garage logo on there, of course, or text. Now I'm working on the mount for the T-case. So this one's gonna be a little weird. I still think I'm gonna go straight off of this bar. I'm gonna use tubing, so I'll come up with tubing from here and then tubing on the other side, and then I already cut this plate out on the CNC, and it's just kind of bolted in there loosely. And basically I'll run a tube this direction, and then I'll grab it from this direction. So shouldn't be too difficult, and it should be plenty strong to support the weight of this bad boy. So that is that's what's next. Let's get to getting. Oh, one more thing additional to the T-case mounts and everything. This drive shaft, I figured out the length it needs to be. The tubing that I have for this is 2-inch. It's supposed to be 2-inch ID. This is 2-inch OD. The tubing that I have over there, I already cut it down to length. I just have to bring it to the shop and put it on the lathe and shave off like probably about 1/10 thou. So that should be perfect, and I'll be able to slide this thing back together, and we will have a drive shaft. Alrighty guys, so I got the rear drive shaft just temporarily put in there. It is at kind of a crazy angle, but I don't think it's gonna be an issue. So I reached out to some friends and they said send it. That is what we're gonna do. So it's just kind of sitting together. I just pressed in the ends basically, and then I'll get them all welded up. Yeah, so onto this. So this is the transfer case mount. I kind of came up with this tube just laying down in there. You have to have it on some sort of rubber isolators, because that's on rubber, this is on rubber, and then the front engine mounts are on rubber. So have to have them on some sort of rubber mount. We will reach some tabs up, I think is what I want to do. Grab some tabs onto that, and then bend a tab outwards and up and grab that side. So And once those are in there, if you ever need to take this out, you'll unbolt it, you'll slide this thing out, and you'll just take the mount out, and it should be pretty easy to disassemble from there. So you always got to think about taking stuff apart once you are about to weld tabs in and weld mounts in. So anyways, let's get the plasma table going, get some cardboard aided design, and let's make this happen. Alrighty guys, so new day out in the shop. It's actually really nice out. I haven't touched this thing in, I don't know, about a week. I got sick, and then remote control cars kind of took over for a little bit. So now I'm back out here. Anyways, where I left off is I got these tabs in place. I have to do this bent tab on the other side to get that mount finished up, and then weld up the drive shaft. So that's what's on today's agenda. Hopefully I can start getting the exhaust lined up. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to go from the passenger side and merge it over to this side and then do one out the back, which I would like to do, but we will see. So that is that's what's up. Okay, so while all this stuff was cooling off, I couldn't really touch any of it. So another thing I had to do is change the mounts for these shocks. So basically, where it's sitting right now is full bottomed out. I know it doesn't look like it, but in order to have enough travel on these shocks, it needs to be lowered. So these, instead of mounting up here, need to mount somewhere in this area. I'm thinking about just coming over and grabbing them with this tube and then, you know, beefing up this tube a little bit, tying it into over there or something, but I'm pretty sure this is what I want to do. We will kind of think about it and stare at it for a minute and go from there. Alrighty guys, there she is. That's kind of what I came up with. I'm actually really digging it. I wasn't too sure if it would just look out of place or not, but I think everything is where I would like it. I mean, I don't mind it at all. So
Yeah, so same thing on the other side. And this is, it should have lowered it about 7 inches, so I get a lot more shaft back out of the ORIs, and I should be sitting about 8 or 9 inches of shaft showing on the ORIs. And the front has about 7 inches showing, so I think it'll be pretty good there. Onto the other side. Alrighty, so got the shocks, whatever you want to call this, the mount, little hoop, welded in, and I really dig how it looks from the back, the sides. I don't know, looks pretty freaking cool. So, if you can recall, I got about 8 inches of shaft showing on the rear, and then the front's got about 6, I think, right now. Got 6 inches shaft showing up front. The chassis is completely level with these bars right here and the lower frame. So that is its ride height. That is where it's gonna sit. Yeah, let's just keep trucking along. I'm missing a bunch of the U-joint straps. I haven't seen those, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I did weld the drive shaft. Rear drive shaft is welded up, so I'm gonna pop that back into place, and then I think the next thing is either gonna be start to work on the exhaust, or these need to be, you know, plated or capped, put in double shear, because this is right now it's just a bolt going through and nothing supporting this side of the bolt. So I might do that just to knock those out, and then yeah, just keep doing something, and eventually it'll get done. So let's figure out something else to do. Alrighty guys, real quick recap. Transfer case mount is in. Transmission mount's in. Drive shaft's just chilling right now, but it's good to go. Rear drive shaft has been welded, put together. Rear shocks have been permanently mounted. Everything's at ride height and looking pretty good. I'm a little worried about the drive shaft angle, but I kind of reached out to some buddies and they said just send it. So we'll put a limit strap in the middle. When this thing goes to full flex or where it starts to bind, I'll put a limit strap just before it, so it won't ever bind. It'll just hit that limit strap. So yeah, we are watching King of the Hammers. Got all the short course stuff going on right now, and I think that is where I'm gonna call it quits on our first video of Aaron's vent fabrication buggy. If you guys are enjoying this build, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.